3,000 wives, 700 princesses, 300 concubines. The Bible says this literally about King Solomon. And for centuries, official history treated it as poetic exaggeration, as a symbol of a legendary king's wealth and power. But what if it wasn't exaggeration? What if each of those 1,000 women was a peace treaty, a diplomatic agreement, a military alliance, a commercial contract, sealed not with ink and paper, but with blood and lineage? Solomon ruled Israel for 40 years, approximately from 970 to 931 BC, and transformed a small, newly formed kingdom into a power that rivaled Egypt. But here's the detail history books rarely mention. One of his wives was the daughter of the Pharaoh of Egypt, not a concubine, not a minor ally, the Pharaoh's daughter. And that was something that simply didn't happen. Egypt never gave daughters in marriage to foreign kings, never. Why was Solomon the exception? Solomon was the son of David, the warrior king who unified the tribes of Israel and defeated the Philistines. David wanted to build God's temple in Jerusalem, but God, according to biblical texts, refused. David's hands were stained with blood. He was a man of war. The temple would be built by a man of peace. That man was Solomon, the richest king in history. Modern estimates of Solomon's wealth, based on biblical texts about the temple's gold, trade routes and tribute received, place him among the wealthiest men who ever lived. In today's values, approximately $2.2 trillion, more than Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk combined, multiplied by 10. The temple he built in Jerusalem consumed, according to the texts, over 100,000 talents of gold, approximately 3,400 tons. For context, the entire gold reserve of the United States today is about 8,000 tons. Solomon spent nearly half of that on a single building, the proverbial wisdom. The Bible describes Solomon as the wisest man who ever lived. Kings and queens from around the world made long journeys just to hear his judgments. Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and the Song of Songs, three of the most profound books of the Old Testament, are attributed to him. But here's the paradox. The wisest man in history made a decision that the biblical texts themselves describe as his greatest weakness: the 1,000 wives, and specifically, the foreign wives. To understand Solomon's harem, you need to forget romance and think geopolitics. Israel, in the 10th century BC, Israel was a young kingdom, surrounded by established powers. To the north, Phoenicia controlling Mediterranean maritime trade. To the east, the kingdoms of Ammon, Moab, and Edom, with access to Arabian caravan routes. To the south, Egypt, the regional superpower for millennia. To the west, the ever-threatening Philistines. And beyond all that, Syria, the emerging Assyria, and on the distant horizon, Babylon. For a small kingdom to survive and prosper in this environment, it needed allies. And the safest way to create allies in the ancient world was simple: marry. Marriage as treaty. Each foreign princess entering Solomon's harem represented an alliance. The Phoenician princess, access to Lebanese timber to build the temple. The Moabite and Ammonite princesses, trade routes to eastern Arabia. The Edomite princesses, control of the port of Elath on the Red Sea and access to the gold of Ophir. The Egyptian princesses, the most extraordinary alliance of all. The Pharaoh's daughter. Egypt had an absolute rule since the New Kingdom era. The Pharaoh's daughters don't marry foreign kings. Egypt is superior to all. The Pharaoh is the son of Ra. His daughters are divine. Giving a daughter in marriage to a foreign king would mean admitting equality, or worse, inferiority. There are letters from the 14th century BC in which a foreign king asks for a pharaoh's daughter in marriage. The Egyptian response was clear. Since ancient times, no daughter of the king of Egypt has been given to anyone. And yet, Solomon received an Egyptian princess as dowry, the city of Gaza, a city the Egyptians had conquered and burned, and delivered rebuilt as a wedding gift. What made Solomon the exception to a rule that lasted 1,000 years? Solomon's harem was diplomatic genius, but it had a price: the wives and their gods. Each foreign princess brought her religion with her. The Phoenician princess worshipped Baal, and Astarte, the Moabite princesses worshipped Chemosh. The Ammonite princesses worshipped Moloch. And Solomon, the wisest king in history, the builder of the temple of the one God, built altars for all these gods to please his wives. The biblical texts describe this without sugarcoating. When Solomon was old, his wives turned his heart after other gods. The man who built the world's most sacred temple ended up building temples for his neighbors' deities. It's an extraordinary contradiction. And the prophets of Israel never forgave him. The division of the kingdom. When Solomon died, his son Rehoboam inherited the throne, but the kingdom was wounded from within. The northern tribes were exhausted by the taxes and forced labor that had built the temple and Solomon's palace. When Rehoboam refused to ease the burden, 10 of the 12 tribes rebelled. The unified kingdom of David and Solomon split in two, Israel to the north, Judah to the south, and it never reunified. The biblical texts say clearly the division was punishment for Solomon's apostasies, for the 1,000 wives, the foreign temples, the turning of his heart. But before we finish, there's something biblical commentators rarely discuss: the number 1,000. In Hebrew tradition, numbers have meanings beyond the literal. 7 is perfection, 40 is a trial period. 1,000 is total completeness. When the texts say Solomon had 1,000 wives, they may be saying Solomon achieved diplomatic completeness. He established alliances with all the kingdoms that mattered. No serious archaeologist believes Solomon literally had 1,000 wives simultaneously. The logistics would be impossible, even for a king with Solomon's resources. But the number of diplomatic alliances through marriages, that number may have been very high. What archaeology confirms, excavations at Megiddo, Hazor, and Gaza, the 3 cities biblical texts attribute to Solomon, found large-scale structures dated approximately to the 10th century BC. There is debate about whether these structures belong to Solomon or later kings, but the presence of major works from this period in Israel is confirmed. What hasn't been found? Solomon's temple itself. The Temple Mount in Jerusalem is today one of the world's most sensitive sites. Extensive archaeological excavations are impossible for political and religious reasons. What lies beneath the stones? Nobody knows for certain. The lineage that survived. But here's the most disturbing detail of Solomon's entire story. His lineage didn't die with the kingdom's division. The royal family of Judah, direct descendants of Solomon, continued to rule for nearly 400 years after his death. And when Babylon destroyed Jerusalem in 586 BC and took the people into exile, Solomon's descendants didn't disappear. Some fled to Egypt, others to other places. And according to the Kebra Nagast, Ethiopia's sacred tradition, one branch of Solomon's lineage reached Ethiopia and ruled there until the 20th century. The last Ethiopian emperor, Haile Selassie, who died in 1975, titled himself Lion of Judah, Elect of God, King of Kings of Ethiopia, and claimed direct descent from Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, a lineage of 3,000 years. That began with 1,000 diplomatic marriages and with a pharaoh's daughter who broke all the rules.